Deoin, let's go. Deoin, let's go. Yeah. We built it. We grind it. That's right, man. We ride it. We cruise it. Yeah. We build it. We grind it. That's right. We ride it. Yeah. We cruise it. Yeah. We build it. We grind it.
My name's Greg Rains. A lot of people call me HotRod. Well, I'm a local boy from here in Willard. Graduated class of 1980 here. Played basketball. Just been here most all my life. My kids come around. We moved out here. My kids graduated from here, and as things has moved along, we went into racing and run street machine nationals and four-wheel drive jams, monster truck shows. And then I got into professional drag racing and ended up driving one of my childhood heroes trucks.
And so now let's go back a little bit. At what age did you get into all the hot rods and cars and stuff like that?
Well, I've always been into cars from the day I was born, I think. At 2 years old, my mom and dad says I used to grab a hold of the edge of the TV and jump up and down when a race would come on. Back in the day when the Ozark Empire Fairgrounds still had their racetrack. Go out there every Friday night. I just lived and breathed to watch cars.
What was your first car when you got to be?
My very first car was a Boss 351 Mustang, 71 Boss 351 Mustang, and silver and black. Drove it for several years. As things go, I think I give all of $900 for that car in '77 when I bought it. And on Barrett Jackson here a while back, I seen its identical self go across the auction block for $185,000. After I got rid of it, I got my Z28, which I still have to this day.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Is everything original on the Z28?
Oh, no. It's a full Pro Street 78Z, blown small block, narrowed rear end, tilt front end. It's a Z, but there's not much Z left anymore.
Okay. And then, what do you remember? What moment was it whenever you realized you like racing? Like the different kind of racing is not necessarily street racing.
If it's got tires and wheels on it, I love it. That's just what it is, and that's been all my life.
All your life, kind of thing.
When I was 8 years old, probably, I was going through a stack of magazines, hot rod magazines, of course, and seen this picture of this guy in a full aluminum suit, sitting in a '67 Nova MASH car, and he's backing it up in the staging lanes at Lions Drag Strip, California. And just as an 8 or 10 year old kid, I just latched onto that and thought, how cool was that? Not having any idea that, 20 years later, I'd not only meet this guy, I'd end up being good pals with him and end up driving for him. Back then in the early 70s, 69, 70, Richard started driving a wheel standers, and the one he drove at the time was called Bad Bossa Nova. As a kid, I seen this on ABC Wide World of Sports, and it was the craziest thing I'd ever seen. It was a '69 Nova that literally stood on its rear bumper and went all the way down the track. And as a kid, I was just absolutely taken by it, that it could do such a thing. Plus, it'd do these great big huge burnouts. Years later, I wanted to go to take my Camaro, my Z28, to a Super Chevy show. We go down to Dallas. Unbeknownst to me, my childhood hero, Richard, and Roger Guston was the two guys that run these shows. And we ended up bumping into him, meeting him, and I thought that was pretty cool. Well, as we was leaving the races, I was looking through the souvenir magazine, and there was a mention in the souvenir magazine that one of their operators, Richard Schroeder, was just finishing his newest project, which was a crew cab Chevrolet pickup with 2 engines in it. That was April of 85. 88, I got the Street Machine Nationals come Springfield, Missouri, and I worked for them for 30 some years. But by 1990, as we were setting up for that year's show, my bosses in Indianapolis that owned the show called me and we said, hey, we've hired a guy to be your new boss this year, participant coordinator. And I asked, well, who is it? And they said, well, it's Richard Schroeder. And I said, the Richard Schroeder? And they said, yeah, well, you know him? Like, oh, yeah, I mean, he's been a hero of mine since I was a little kid. And so Richard come to town. We got to be good buddies. I worked for him that year. Everything hit off. Just had a really good time. Within the next year, Richard offered me a job working for him and Truckin' Magazine, delivering magazine cars around the country and running the Truckin' Showtime shows.
And real quick, I'm going to interrupt
Sure.
you there. Sorry. We're going to continue there. But what do you mean by magazine show cars?
Oh, well,
Explain
your
that.
magazine show cars. Several of the cars I've personally drove around. One was the Project AFX car, cheap street Chevelle, the Truckin' Magazine Sherwood stereo giveaway truck, which was a 5,000 watt stereo on wheels that was given away through Truckin' Magazine. I delivered it all over the country, back and forth all one summer.
So when you say you delivered it, you mean you took it to the shows where they get photography can take care of
Right, right. We took it around to shows all over the country, and that way you could put your name in the hat for a drawing to win it. And then once they drew the name out, a guy up in Oregon had ended up winning it, and I got sent to take the truck back to LA. We had it repainted, and cleaned it all up where it was fresh as the day it was built, and then I delivered it to the new owner.
And what did you enjoy about that? Did you enjoy the trips?
Oh,
did you enjoy the cars themselves?
It was so wonderful. You got to travel all over everywhere. One of the funnest stories, this had been in June of 93. A buddy of mine's driving with me, and we're taking it to a car show in Nashville, Tennessee. We're over at Cape Girardeau area, and we're looking to get some soda and some gas, and we pull into a little service station. And as we pull into the service station, we notice there's some guys standing in the front glass, and it's obviously a magazine stand there that they're looking at. And we see them pointing down, and then we see them pointing up, and then we see them pointing down, and then they look up, and they're all talking back and forth, and we realize the truck's on the cover of Truckin' Magazine that month, and it just pulled in the garage right in front of them, or the service station right in front of them.
So that was a cool kind of feeling.
That was really cool. Yeah, everybody got to come out and look at it, and was just so amazed that they've got the magazine in front of them, and here's the truck too, you know.
Did you have a favorite in that one? Or one of the favorites on the magazine maybe you didn't deliver?
No, not really. I mean, Project AFX was a Ford Fairmont that was made to look like an old 1960s AFX car, and it wasn't really all that popular. But I learned a lot about magazine cars. They look a lot better in magazines than they do in life. But they're still, really cool cars. Like Project AFX, we picked it up in Kansas City and drove it into Springfield. It was kind of rough. It was a gutted out car. It had a 460 in it. It was hot. It was miserable. The stereo, it had a big Kenwood stereo mounted in the dash, but it wasn't hooked up. And just little things like that you notice about the magazine cars.
All right, so you were doing the magazine cars, delivering the magazine cars. What was after that?
Well, we went back to basically running the car shows, the truck and magazine shows, run them from coast to coast, and then like I said, the Street Machine Nationals, four-wheel drive monster shows, Hot Rod Power Tour. I was on the operations crew of it for several years, and we've just loved being around cars and going to car events, and for 30 years that's what I did. That was my vacation every year, was working through the summers doing car shows.
Now, you did say something like you helped, or you basically brought to Springfield the Street
Machine Nats.
Yeah.
1982 was the first time I got to go to a Street Machine Nats. It was in Springfield, Illinois, and it was just unfathomable what I was seeing, with 5,000 cars on a fairgrounds. And my brother-in-law and I walked till we couldn't walk anymore, and we never seen but half the cars. And I said, we've got to have one of these here in Springfield. So I started writing letters to, at that time it's Peterson Publishing, saying, hey, we've got a fairgrounds out here in Springfield. We're dead center of the country, right on I-44 and Highway 13. They don't use it for nothing but a fairgrounds once a year. Well, it's what a place and opportunity it'd be to have your shows. 4 or 5 years I sent constant letters and never really got a whole lot of anything back. And then in 1987 I find out that the promotion company, which is now named as the company that done that, 1988 we get wind that Special Events, that now owns the shows, is going to put a show in Springfield. So at that time I was working for O'Reilly's. I took my vacation, we went out to the fairgrounds, and we worked a whole week, volunteered, helping them run the show. From that point on, for the next 30 years, I become a part of the team that run all those national shows. Finally kind of retired from that. That's been about 4 years ago, with our last show being a monster truck show at Lucas at Wheeling.
So you had the Street Machines Nationals, and then you had the trucking magazines and stuff. And where did that lead you?
Well, keep in mind we all kind of done this simultaneously over the next 30 years. But I was running Street Machine Nationals. We done the trucking Showtime shows. Then we do the four-wheel drive monster trucks, Hot Rod Power Tour, and then at some point, I think that was in 92, I took over Ozark International Raceway, the drag strip at Rogersville. I was track manager down there. And when I went full-time running the track, that's when I got a little elbow time again. And Richard called me up out of the blue, said he was in town, said he needed a favor. What you got going? He says, well, I'm in town. I've got to go meet with the Chevrolet reps in Kansas City tomorrow. We're going to fly up. But I need somebody to get my truck back to LA for me. Well, this is 10 o'clock on a Thursday night. I said, well, Richard, if I'm going to do that, I got to leave now. And he goes, yeah, I know. So keep in mind, this is before cell phones and before GPS. So Richard pulls up a cocktail napkin and makes me a map to his house from Springfield to Diamond Bar, California. So 30 hours later, or 22 and a half hours later, is what I made it in. I show up at Richard's house Saturday morning about 6 a.m. and completely exhausted. I come to the door not knowing if it's the actual right house or not. It's 6 in the morning. I knock on the door, and I'd never met his wife, Gina, before. And she comes to the door, and she goes, you must be Hot Rod. Yeah, that's me. I said, Richard's not up and around yet. Come in and sit down. Well, I don't even hardly remember sitting down. Next thing I know, it's an hour and a half later. Richard's kicking my feet, going, wake up, are you ready to go? Yes, sir. So we jump up, and we jump in the car, and we head off to Santa Ana. to go see my Nova that I've always wanted to see so bad. And he keeps it at Mike Cool Supercharger's shop. So when we pull in there, meeting Mike Cool was a big thing to me too. We run the Cool and Olson Top Fuel car when I was in high school. Got to meet Mike, stand there talking to him, and Tom Mongoose McEwen walks in the door. Another childhood hero of mine. As we're standing there talking, the four of us take off and go eat lunch together. So I'm sitting with Schroeder, Cool, and McEwen, a little farm boy from Willard, sitting there eating lunch together, and I just thought, well, it can't get any better than this. I've died and went to heaven. This is it. So after lunch, we go back to Cool's shop, and we go hop in. Richard tells me to hop in the dually, jump in the truck with him, and we go pulling out, and I realize it's the trailer that's got the Nova in it, and I think we're going back to his house. So as we're going down the 5 toward Diamond Bar, I see a sign that says Pomona. Well, I light up, and I'm realizing, well, that's where the Pomona County Fairgrounds is. That's home NHRA. And Richard just grins, and then I realize we're turning off, pulling into the fairgrounds. Well, Richard was NHRA TV announcing staff, him and Dave McClellan and Steve Evans. And we don't even slow down at the gate. We just plow right through the gate, everybody waves, and we pull in, and it was like a who's who of Southern California drag racing. Everybody's there on a Saturday morning, and we drop the door down on the trailer, and there sits my Nova that I've wanted to see so bad for so many years. We roll it out of the car, or out of the trailer, and Richard tells me, just jump in. So here I jump in my dream car, sitting there, and he throws straps over my shoulders and says, reach over there, push those fuel shutoffs forward, and that button there's a primer, push it, hit start button. So I fire it up, and it's got a 1500 horse alcohol burning big block Chevy, 510 cubic inch Chevy, sitting in the back seat, and it fires off, and it's just shaking everything, and all's right with the world. I sat there for a couple minutes, and finally reach out and shut it off, realizing it's probably warming up, and I don't want to overheat it. And I get out of the car, and I'm just shell-shocked. Turn around, and I'm telling Richard, thank you for letting me do that. That was great. And he said, well, there's something I've been meaning to ask you, the favor I wanted to ask of you. And I said, yeah, okay, what's up? And he goes, well, I've got 2 wheelie cars, California Deuce, which it's now called, and Emergency West. I can only drive one of them. I said, gee, Richard, I really don't know who to tell you. I don't know anybody that... And he repeats himself. And about the 3rd time he repeats himself, it finally sinks in what he's asking me, that he wants me to drive California Deuce, which was originally known as Bad Bossa Nova, or Smoky Red. And then I was just scared. I said, I've never drove anything like that. My God, it'd kill me if I bent the car. I wouldn't be able to live with the guilt if I bent my favorite car. And he just laughs, and he says, I've run it up a guardrail, had it on its roof on fire. I don't think you can hurt it any worse than that. So after that, within 10 minutes, I'm in the car, strapped in, sitting on the starting line at Pomona, and he tells me within 2 hours I'll have you driving it like you've drove it all your life. So I'm sitting there, and I'm realizing the gravity of the situation. And it's just like, please God, don't let me screw this up. And Richard steps back, points at the track, and I had a little too much adrenaline and not used to wheelie cars. I hit the throttle. Didn't think I hit it that hard, but I hit it a lot harder than I thought I did. Next thing I know, all I can see is blue sky, I hear the engine winging. I feel the shoulder straps digging through my shoulders as I'm laying on my back as the car's completely vertical. And now I'm realizing, oh dear God. And so I let off the throttle, and that's about the time I start feeling the car fall. And what had happened, I had stood up so hard it hit on the stands, pulled the rear wheels, the drive wheels, clean off the ground. And now it was in free fall coming back down. When I realized that, it's like, I've got to catch it. So I hammer the throttle on it, and in doing that, the tires are spinning violently when it comes to the ground. And those big slicks, when they hit that pavement, it goes into frog hop. The car would literally jump back and forth, standing on the rear bumper. And it's just beating the crap out of me going down the track. And I can't figure out where I'm at, where I'm going. I finally get it to settle down, and I realize I'm halfway down the track. I spin it around, and I idle back down to the start line, just knowing he's going to be really mad, and I've blown my chance of ever getting to be a professional driver. Pull up in front of him and shut the motor off. I throw the straps off, and I'm apologizing and start to get out of the car, and he looks at me and he goes, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Man, whatever I tore up, I'll fix. I'm sorry." And he goes, "No." He said, "I want to know if you was smart enough to figure it out. You done fine. Get back in there. Let's go again." And that's how I ended up driving wheel standers. And it was amazing. After 3 or 4 more passes, I finally got it where it was up on the stands and it would go forward. And by that time, of course, the car's getting hot and whatever, so we had to put it up for the night. But that's how this mess all got started.
And that's how you guys became friends too after that.
Absolutely.
Too. And that's what leads us to this here, the story of how it came to this ride that we have here, which we're not going to say yet.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about the other version 1 of it, right?
Version 1.
Version 1.
So I'm getting ready to go out the door to go pick up California Deuce to go do a show in Detroit. And Richard calls and he says, "Don't come. I've sold the car." And I'm going, "Oh, well, that was the world's shortest wheel standing career." So, okay. He said, "Well, I don't have time. I'll call you back in a week or so and we'll talk." Okay. Well, a couple weeks later, he calls and he says, "That ticket you've got at the airport, I need you to come out here to Ontario and get Emergency West, and I need to meet you in Union Grove, Wisconsin next Thursday." Oh, okay. Well, at that point, I'm thinking I'm just driving the transport because Emergency West is his truck. And so I fly out to Ontario, get the truck, make it up to Union Grove, Wisconsin, Great Lakes Dragway. And we, on Friday night, it was Olympics of Drag Racing. It's a 4-day event. You got Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday shows. And it's a little bit of everything. There's monster trucks and bands playing 24 hours a day, drag racing, jet cars, wheelie cars, funny cars. It's just mayhem. Monster trucks even. So we're up there in the middle of all this, and Broadway Bob Metzler, which was the guy that run the track, a legend in drag racing, we get in there Thursday morning and he hands us a stack of appointments where we're supposed to be to do radio interviews, TV interviews, and what have you. So we do it as we're going into Milwaukee. It's me and Doug Rose, which run the Green Mamba jet car, Richard Schroeder, and Benny the Bomb Gorski. And we're sitting in Benny's car. We're going up I-95, and I'm just fascinated. His act is that he climbs into a car with 3 sticks of live dynamite, and he sets it off. And he walks out of the car. It's amazing. So I'm totally amazed by this. And I'm asking all sorts of questions. We're going down I-95 in traffic between Chicago and Milwaukee. And I said something about, well, with as hard as it is to, how do you keep up with your explosives? You buy them wherever you're at? What happens with that? He goes, oh, no, I carry them with me. Then I realized I'm in Benny's car in traffic. All of a sudden, I wasn't interested anymore. Didn't want to know anymore. Anyhow, as the show progressed, Friday night we dragged the truck out of out onto the track. I had never got to see Emergency West in person. I had seen it in the magazines. I'd seen it on TV. Never got to see it in person. Here it is. I drove it cross country, and we unloaded it for the show. Richard fires it up to do the show Friday night, and he stands it on the rear bumper and takes off down the track with it. And it's just the most amazing thing I've ever seen, to see a crew cab twin engine dually standing straight on the rear bumper at 130 mile an hour going down the quarter mile is just an unbelievable sight. So I was just totally amazed. Thought it was the coolest thing ever. So the next morning, Saturday morning, at that time an unknown guy named Tony Schumacher was hanging out with us and helping us quite a bit with the truck. And Tony and I had got the truck all cleaned up. We're out goofing off. And Richard hollers at me and he says, guys, you need to get the truck ready. Boss, she's done. She's ready to go. And he goes, you're not dressed. I go, what do you mean I'm not dressed? And he goes, you ain't got your fire suit on. What do you mean? Well, tonight's your show. Oh my gosh, you're kidding me. So he says, no. So, again, we drag it back over to the starting line, and he puts me through what I call Emergency West College. Puts me in the seat, shows me how everything operates, all the switches and everything, and it's like, this is yours. And it's like, you're kidding, right? You're going to run it. You're just showing me this. He says, no, tonight's your show. So we took a deep breath and we went, and it went flawlessly. The truck performed wonderfully, had no issues with it. It is a unique experience to hit the throttle on a 22, 23 foot long vehicle, be raised 6 foot in the air, and looking through your feet to see where you're going. But it was awesome. Once I got past the first one, it was the greatest thing ever. First one scared me to death. From that point on, then I got named as the driver on Emergency West. And we drove it from 2001 to 1991 to 2001. And Richard was wanting to get into jet cars. I decided I really wasn't that fond of jet cars or driving them. I love them, don't want to drive them. And so Richard went on to build Focus This and run it until his death in 2007. 2008, the family decided to have the truck rebodied, Emergency West, kind of updated. Richard and I had talked about it at SEMA in 2004, but that's really about as far as it got, was we was just talking about it. 2008, the family hired out to have the body changed on it and have it updated. There was some issues and some drama of always, and as it turned out, 2015, the truck was done, but the truck wouldn't wheelie anymore, and it didn't look like it used to. It had went from a 77 square body to a 2014 Silverado. Same truck, just new body. The truck was originally slated to go to the NHRA Hall of Fame with Mike Cool's Top Fuel car. However, they wasn't really interested in getting the truck for the simple fact it didn't look like all of its historical pictures. Effort was even brought to Don Garlett's, put it in his museum in Florida, and that was his take on it too. If it had the old body on it, he'd like to have it. So at this point, we have the world's coolest wheel stander that won't wheel stand anymore, and it doesn't look like it used to. So it had a real identity problem. The shop that was the son ended up dying, and the lawyers ended up giving the truck to the workshop that was doing the work. They couldn't get the truck to wheelie. They tried selling it to me three times. I just couldn't afford it. It eventually, the shop pulled the motors and transmissions out of it, sold them, and then put the rolling chassis into storage. Unfortunately, the storage never did get paid on it. This is by 2017 now. 2022, I get a text saying, we know you know something about Emergency West. And I said, yeah, I used to drive it. What do you need? They said, well, we know the backstory. We know how it got away from the family, and we'd really like to get it back to the family. By all means, what can I do? What do we have to do? And they said, well, could just come get it. Well, I called Gina, the wife, the widow, and asked her, I said, you want me to bring it back to L.A., tie it down at my house, tie it down in Chicago where it was at, till you decide what you want to do. What do you want done? And Gina told me at that point, she said, Richard and I had decided before the decision to rebody it, that we was going to give you the full race operation turnkey. She said, however, that got changed, but it's your truck. You go get it. So that's how Emergency West ended up in Willard.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, go.
No, you go ahead if you got anything else.
Oh, no.
I say, so how do you feel about having it ever since then? Like, since you get to be personal owner of the vehicle and you get to take it to shows and stuff, tell me a little bit about where you've been.
Okay.
And
well, the most amazing thing is, here's a vehicle that I've been in complete awe of from a person that I think the whole world of. And it's been given to me, handed to me. I just, that action in itself is just beyond words. When I got the truck, no motors, no transmissions. It's 560 pounds, overweight, empty. It was kind of a daunting deal at the time, but it was like, I have to put this back together. The historical significance of this truck, my tie to the truck, Richard's tie to the truck, it's got to be put back together. So I started trying to round up parts, and just the most amazing things happened. 6 months before I found out any of this, I had some stocks that had laid, basically worthless, had laid for 14 years. Virtually valueless. 5 stocks, you had to have 10 to sell them, and that's how I got stuck with them. All of a sudden, these stocks soar in value, and I had a friend of mine chase them down and sell them for me. I said, that's another $3,000-$4,000 I don't have. It's free money. Just go ahead and get them for me. So he said it'd take about 6 months. So okay. Well, in that 6 months, then I find out I'm getting Emergency West. I'm floored. We end up going getting the truck, bringing it home. I had a mechanic come out to work on one of my tow trucks, and just being silly more than anything, I mentioned something to him about, I need a couple 8.1 big block Chevys. I don't have anything. If you happen to know somebody that's got a couple sitting around their garage, let me know. And he just immediately pulls out his phone and he goes, "You need to call this guy." Really? He goes, "Oh yeah, call this guy." So I do, and I tell him, I said, I've got nothing to start with. This has all been mechanical before. I need the fuel injection. I need everything, the alternator starters, everything, straight out of the truck. And he goes, "Yeah, I got them. I got one." And I go, "Well, here's the deal. I need 2 of them." And he says, "Yeah, no problem." I go, "Really?" And he goes, "Yeah, I've got 2 running motors right here, everything straight out of the truck." Ask him what he wants for me. He tells me, and I go, "I'll see you Friday." So we load up and we go bring him home. A week later, I'm looking for turbo 400 transmissions. It never dawned on me they haven't made them in 40 years. Never thought about them being hard to find, and couldn't find them. All of a sudden, a buddy of mine shows up and he's asking how it's going. I said, "Man, I need a couple turbo 400s, and nobody seems to have one, or they want to sell me race transmissions, and I just need cores." And he goes, "I know where a pair are." Lo and behold, 2 days later, he pulls up in front of the door with 2 turbo 400s. So that put the truck physically together. There was a few odds and ends that we had to source from the original sources. This being a full custom-made vehicle called Strange Engineering. They had made the couplers and stuff for it originally. Called them, and there was actually a couple of the guys that had worked on the project originally 30, 40 years ago that was still there and remembered it and looked up everything they needed and fabricated those parts for it. So that put the truck all physically together. We spent the next summer just trying to get it wired, electrical, fuel lines. I wasn't very involved with LS injection, so I had to learn all that, and I had a lot of friends help. And we spent the entire month of July trying to get it started. We finally got it to fire off last of January and get it to move under its own power. And at the time we thought, if we could just get the truck to move itself and shoot flames and turn the lights on, that's all we could ask of it. That'd be cool. It'd look good and it would do that. Well, as typical, as we got into the winter, boy, how cool would it be to see it wheelie? If it just do little wheelies. And so in April, we've got it out here on our test street and playing with it, checking transmissions, making sure they're working properly, shifting properly, and had no idea, none. We tried to make it wheelie and he wouldn't even think about it. That morning, I'd found a ground wire that was loose and had tightened it up. And apparently that's all it took. Because when I hit the throttle, she comes straight up off the ground. First time in 21 years it wheelied, and it was marvelous. Run out 10-15 feet before I could shut it down, and I'm laughing and giggling and thinking how great that was. And one of my drivers happened to see it and caught it on video. We've got footage of it actually lifting for the first time in 21 years. We then went into, we got to make this work. And we went into really hardcore how to make this happen. And by June, we got it where Emergency West is 100% operational. She will stand on the bumper. She will blow flames. All the lights work, sirens work, and it is just as she used to be in a sleeker body.
Oh man, that was a good story. So let's check out these engines. What do you got under the hood? Let's go see what you got under the hood.
Yeah, sure. You can look under the hood if you want.
Let's go look real quick.
Yeah, okay. Well, there's Dutch fasteners there, but actually, if you look, that's actually tape. That's not a crack. I don't guess the hood actually opens. But if we come around this way, you can look in the door here, and it's got a glass floor in it where you can see underneath the hood, or see out the bottom of it when I'm going down the track.
So this pops up in the air, and so since you can't see here,
See, you can't. When you first raise it up into a wheelie, all you see is blue sky,
so you'd be like this.
like that. And so then you got to tell yourself, wait, look at your feet. And then as you look down, there you can see the ground and see where you're going.
And as that's usually most up in the air, and this is what you'll see this, but down here.
Right. Exactly. So as far as the controls are concerned in the truck, being it's a twin engine truck, there's 2 of everything. So there is 2 tacks and 2 water temperatures, 2 oil pressures, 2 fans, 2 engine starts, and then we've got the light controls and stuff up here. And then, of course, like with the transmissions, we have 2 gear shifts, and then this is my brake steer when I'm up in the air, so I can control which direction the truck's running.
And then go back to shoot that brake steer. And what does the brake steer do again?
Okay, like this brake steer here, if I push it forward, it hits the left rear brake, and that causes the truck to turn to the left while the front end's in the air. If I need to go to the right, adjust my track, I pull back on this, and that holds the right rear brake, which causes the truck to pivot to the right.
So whenever you're looking down there,
So as you're driving down the track, your feet are sitting here, and try to keep that foot out of the way. But as you see, this is the view that I see as I'm going down the track trying to steer. I have to switch my steering from right hand on the ground to pull my hand down here to the gear or the steer stick, and then switch to steering looking through the floor as we go down the track.
it's very interesting.
Kind of strange.
It is definitely strange, something to get used to, correct?
Yeah, and then when you go to transfer back to the ground, you're looking here, you lift the throttle, and as the nose goes to settle, just as it's coming to the ground, you go to full throttle, it catches the nose, and you transition back up to the main windshield and move your hand from the steering brake to the steering wheel. Of course, the whole time I'm also holding the steering wheel to keep it from turning in midair. But that's how you do them.
So let's say what happens, like you're new and you're learning, and you go up in the air and you're looking, and it just throws you off your whole routine.
It does.
And
it does.
so, like, if you hit, you got to watch it, because you could go hit right and you think you're going left.
It's a real mental game to be steering with your hands on the steering wheel like this, to steering with a stick, and then transferring back to the steering wheel.
And that's because the steering wheel has control of the front.
Right.
And once it's up in the air, whoop, you got no more steering.
There's
There's nothing.
Nothing touching.
So you're controlling the rear.
So you got to control the rear steering with the rear brakes.
So it all makes sense, but you got to do it all fast in your head and think of what's going on.
It's all got to be done simultaneously in your head.
And then when it comes back on all fours,
then you got to transfer it back to the steering wheel.
Because if you don't, you're going to lose control there. You know? So
Right.
yeah, there's a lot to think about. So is this your flux capacitor over here?
My flux capacitor. Yeah, we thought how funny that is. The fuse box for the truck, and how it looked like a flux capacitor.
Yeah, I was eyeballing that. And it kind of
Yeah, so we kind of made it up to look even more that way. And the fun part about that is, let's see, that it's set up with my flames. So when I want to show flames, all I do is hit the button. And the flux capacitor,
I got you. I see.
comes on in here. Just kind of a funny thing to me, but
Yeah, no. So that when that lights up, flames shoot in the back. Right. And so you got all this lights going on with heat and stuff like that too.
Right.
So you got to switch over here, hit that switch.
Well, this switch is the main switch. The on-off switch kills everything in the truck.
Oh, kills everything in the truck. Okay.
Yeah.
But that trick, so that would be already on.
Right.
But these wouldn't be on until you actually hit the button with the flames.
Yeah, I arm the flames.
Gotcha.
And then hit the button.
Gotcha. Now that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Emergency West, the world's only twin-engine wheel standard.
And you take this again to the car shows, don't you? Like car shows, car meets.
Been taking it to every meet we can go to. Used to, we only run it on the NHRA circuit. But we're trying to let the whole world know the truck's alive and well. It's back out. Even though it doesn't look like it used to, it's the same truck. It's the same truck we all loved back in the 90s and the 2000s. It just got a new body,
right? Just upgraded with the new times.
It's just upgraded,
and
it's it's still the same truck. But what we're finding out now is that my generation loved the old square body, and that's what we recognized it as. Today's generation, it's been MIA for 21 years. Nobody's seen it. Now all of a sudden, everybody gets to see it, and it's just as cool to them as it was to us back in the 90s.
And so you're going to take it out more, right?
Absolutely. We're trying to get it out and about everywhere we can.
And so how can I follow this vehicle, Emergency West, if I happen to see it out at a car show or something and I don't get the information? I'm like, oh, I know this truck and I'm trying to show friends. Where would I go to find information?
You can go to our Facebook page.
Okay.
It's called Emergency West-Resurection.
Resurrection, okay.
And we put all of the events that we're going to, anything that goes on. It's kind of our daily diary, maybe to say.
Yeah.
And anything we've got going on, that's where we announce it at. And all the pictures from the shows we just got back from, like this weekend we was in Springfield, Illinois. All the pictures from that show and whatever we put on there.
So you take it as far as you can, where we can, with the budget, obviously.
Well, yeah, and like Springfield show, that was a paid show. We was in Minnesota.
Yeah.
Anything, I'm a poor boy.
Well, we all are these days, So if it's like a sponsored event,
yeah, right.
It's
right.
easy, if they want you to get out there, hey, help bring us out.
Absolutely.
Show,
Well, we've done 6 shows now. This summer. Now we go to local car shows here and there. But yeah, absolutely.
She's been sleeping, but she's ready to get out now and shine.
Rock and roll.
Is there anything else you want to do to it? Like, is this it, or anything you want to add, or you think about?
Well, really, we're just kind of fine tuning at this point.
Fine tuning at this point.
Yeah.
Kind of thing?
The truck is complete. It's exceeded everything we thought we'd do. Originally the truck had 3,500 horse. It was running top alcohol motors. I wasn't able to afford top alcohol motors to put back in it, so it's just got gasoline motors in it. So we're about 2,000 horse short of what we used to be. But we've been able to take that deficit of horsepower and still be able to make the truck do big wheelies, and
right.
we can do the big wheelies. We're just not as fast or go as far as we used to, but neither do I.
And they said they wouldn't be done because it was overweight and stuff, but here you are.
Here we are
doing it. So it's still like
everybody else give up on her.
So it's like baby steps, You're showing everybody wrong, and you're bringing her back to life and slowly getting that power back together. Stuff.
Absolutely.
And so maybe one day she'll shine again on the long wheelies, maybe.
Well, like I said, our goal here isn't really to do the long wheelies anymore.
Okay.
Just to do the wheelies.
Just to do wheelies.
It's the truck being the world's only twin-engine wheel standard. We definitely don't want to take a chance on tearing it up.
Yeah.
So the 130 mile an hour all the way down the quarter mile probably is never going to happen again, because there's just too much chance of complete destruction of the truck, and we just can't afford to do that.
Yeah, when you got a lot into it and stuff like that.
Well, not only that, just the historical significance of it.
Yeah.
And so now we can take it and we can run 200, 300 foot wheelies, and it's the same vision.
Yeah.
And it's just as much fun, and it's not. We're 80 mile an hour, 100 mile an hour instead of 130.
I think just getting a wheelie period is just
A
awesome.
wheelie
you
out
know?
of a crew cab?
Exactly, you know, and from where the story is, where it came from, and then even changing bodies and being rebuilt again, kind of thing,
Right.
upgraded, and still doubted because it weighed more, and you still pull a wheelie. I mean, I
Right.
think that's great right there as it is, you know. So just pulling a wheelie is just awesome. So yeah, so you got the air conditioning, the
My air
most,
conditioner.
most
Yep.
expensive air conditioner out there, right?
That's it. When you're sitting in a fire suit in here with the doors closed and none of the windows roll down.
Right, and you're protective. You got the protective gear you put on.
Oh, absolutely.
You got the seat belts. You got
Yeah.
the seat. So you're in there with safety. And then with all that on, you got no windows for safety because it's you gotta be protective.
Yeah.
So all you got is a little fan here, and then on top of that, you got flames you throw back there too. So you're this must be hot in here.
And yes, and those gasoline flames are probably somewhere around 1,800 degrees.
1,800 degrees. Ooh.
When you're standing within 10 feet of the back of that and they light up, I don't have to tell you to back on.
And we might get to see those here in a minute. If not, I'll have video up there to show you guys and stuff like that too. But this is pretty cool.
Joy, let's go. Joy, let's go. Joy, let's go. Yeah. We built it. We grind it. That's right, man. We ride it. We cruise it. We build it. We grind it. That's right. Let's go. Ride it. We cruise it. We build it. We grind it. We ride it. We cruise it. We build it. We grind it. We ride it. We cruise it. That's right, man. We cruise it. We cruise it. Yeah. Let's go, homie. We cruising. We cruising.
Okay. To start this beast, you got the electricity turned on,
Which is here.
which is there, master switch. We turn on fuel pump, turn on the ignition, start button, start number 1. Here's the tack. Number 1 lights.
Oh, and real quick while you're letting it warm up, what does both engines control the whole truck or
Yes.
one
Both.
engine time? Because I noticed that you start one up. I wish I got a video of that. You start one up at a time.
Yep, both engines are completely separate. Motor and transmissions will operate separately, or they'll work together.
Okay.
So I can run on one engine, or number 2 engine, or both engines.
Okay, okay.
And to control the throttle, we've got a gate here in the middle of the throttle. Like right now, both engines are tied together.
Oh, okay.
I can flip that gate up. Now I've got number
Okay.
1 all by itself, or
Okay.
number 2, which we're getting ready to start right now. So we turn its fuel pump on, ignition. There's number 2 fires. There's our water temperatures on both motors, 1 and 2, and our oil pressure on 1 and 2. Now I've got engine 1 and engine 2. Or flip the gate over. Now both the throttles are tied together.
All right.
Okay. Now then, want to see some flames?
your desire to drive? What makes you, your desire to want to drive, especially street machines like this?
My desire to drive is just the thrill of going fast, just being able to hit the throttle and feel that G-force push you through the back of the seat, to watch the world go by in a blur. There's nothing better.
Do you like your desire to drive? Is it mostly street stuff, or do you like to cruise too? Do you like cruising?
Oh, we love to cruise too.
Like
absolutely.
Let's say like carny cruising. Do you ever do carny cruising a little bit?
I'm probably notorious for that.
Notorious for that?
Yeah, that goes back to my Z.
Your Z.
Yeah, it's sitting over there.
And do you like that we are privileged to have the cruising and stuff?
Oh my gosh, we are so privileged. In the 80s when I was cruising all the time, 80 through the 90s, it was basically American Graffiti 20 years later.
20 years later.
I mean, it was, we lived on Kearney every night, and still to this day, the 80 or so people that I run around with on Kearney, we're all still close friends. One of the guys is top fuel pilot. One guy is a pro mod pilot. I'm a wheel stander pilot. Got a couple of them that's crew chiefs. Yeah, we're all hardcore.
That's good.
And we started cruising Kearney.
That's good. What's one thing you can tell the young people nowadays coming up not to do on Kearney that you think is...
Well, the big thing is behave yourself. I mean, you don't want to do something stupid that's going to get somebody else hurt. And that was one of the big reasons why we started Street Machine Nats, why we started down at the drag strip, was let's bring the racing off the streets, get down where we can all have fun and enjoy it. And then we can go cruise the streets and have fun. But yeah, if we want to go race and play hard, let's go to the track and do it, because you never know.
Right? It's more like cruising. You want to go slow, let people enjoy your ride. You want to relax, maybe hang out with people, and then if you want to burn outs or race, go to the track and really take it out there, right?
Let's see what you got. Let's go to the track and let's see you turn it loose.
Right? That way, one, you give people a chance to choose what they want, especially spectators, if they want to go down and sit and chill. And then it's also safety. It's a safety for everybody.
And you never know. I run a record company, and you never know. You think you've got the car handled. You think you've got it made. Then somebody pulls out in front of you. Leaves you nowhere to go. What happens?
Right.
Then you call me. And then I got to come clean up the mess.
And then it's like that too with burnouts. I've seen people with burnouts and they start sliding to the next car beside them too. And, and
people don't realize the force in a tire. If you're doing a big burnout and that tire fails, I've seen them go 30 foot straight up in the air. Yeah. If you was standing there, it would cut you in half.
Yeah. And then another thing is that you can damage somebody else's prized possession.
Absolutely.
And then you're in the hole taking care of all that stuff too.
Right.
So you got any last words you want to say to the people or anything?
Man, get out there and enjoy life. Build a hot rod. Play with hot rods. Have fun.
And if anybody needs any towing?
If you need a tow, call the pro. That's Pro Towing. 417-742-0100. Big City of Willard.
And you guys do venture out too, though, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we'll go wherever we're needed.
All right.
Join, let's go. Join, let's go. Yeah. We built it.
How come this isn't going?
You got the lids on, Mom.
Oh.